So I'm using the other camera, the old one, the cell phone mounted to the dashboard situation. So I did leave a note on the lady's, turned out to be a lady's car. And she came back a few minutes before we were going to depart. And I can be very nice. It's my default to be charming, especially with the accent. No. I said, ma'am, I just have to say, on behalf of people with electric cars, we would appreciate if you didn't park in these spaces, because this is our only place to gas up for 130 miles in any direction. Well, are you gassing up? Yes, ma'am, but only because this one works, whereas the one that you're on the other side that you're not blocking is out of order. Well, you're fine then, aren't you? Well, yes, but we're another vehicle too. Are you from around here? Well, no. Well, then you don't know. I come here all the time. And there's hardly any cars here at all. Right, but there are 3,000 other parking spaces. But you're not from around here, you don't know. Well, I'm looking at them, and I see that there are at least 2,500 of them empty. May I tell you something? Well, I can't imagine anyone's ever been successful in stopping you. Are you trying to be smart? Now, at this point, you have to understand, I have a pretty good side hustle as a stand-up comic. And one of, some would say, my best material is the stuff I don't write. It's dealing with hecklers. And I may have left the rails. And that's why we were doing 90 miles an hour out of Dubois. See, it turns out, according to her, that I should be more respectful. And I said, I asked nicely, could I have been more respectful? Well, you should just shouldn't be talking to people you don't know. I'll tell you what I'm doing, London. I'm helping my audience understand the true meaning of the word cracker. It's important to educate the young. No, I didn't call her a cracker. I went beyond that. You see, in comedy, when you have a set, you have an opener, that's your setup. Make it, get to know the audience, let them get to know you. Just let them know where you're going to be coming from. Then you have a closer. Now my closer, my current closer or variation on it happens to talk somewhat about the police from a rather unique use case. That is that I am 13 and 0 for failing, 13 and 0 for getting tickets for a multitude of speeding, failure to stop at stop signs, and some other infractions. And it's entirely possible that when she told me that her husband was a police officer, I said, well, they have been known to make mistakes. Now, the look on her face should have said, stop. But I didn't stop. Said he makes poor decisions. And I said, ma'am, I've never been given a ticket in my life, not that I haven't been stopped, but I've never found a cop that could read. my driving license. It's 26 characters long. Those that are smart enough rarely have the energy to get all the way through it without a donut. Her face suggested she was offended by this. So it's entirely possible I doubled down. I'm not a good person, people. I try to be a good father, but I am an intellectual bigot. And when you tell me that I'm not smart, well, I'm going to rise right to the top of my considerable IQ. Yeah. It was possibly a mistake to say that the only way of her not saying something was to put something large in her mouth. I possibly suggested that was the time when her husband was happiest. Not for the job she was doing, but the quiet it bestowed on the moment. So anyway, if you are watching this and you do feel that you could drive by Dubois in Pennsylvania to offer bail money, it would be appreciated. In the meantime, current state of charge 67.7. We are 78 miles from Sheets 248 in a town I don't actually know the name of and don't really care. We're just heading there somewhat expeditiously. This is not the time for conserving ions. If you're familiar with the Blues Brothers, you can't outrun a Motorola.